Hey, my name's Erik Arnesen. I play guitar and banjo in Great Lakes Swimmers. Let's talk gear. This is a Gretsch double anniversary model. It's a reissue. I believe it's Japanese made. I bought it 5 years ago, maybe a little more. But it's a total to spec replica of a 65 Gretsch double anniversary. It's got high-low tron pickups. They're kind of a sharper, I guess they would be more like the P90 version on the pickup spectrum. A bit sharper, brashier. Cool for a surf sound, dialing in a surf sound. What were the other pickups called? They had the, oh my god, the ones that were the humbucking ones. Not the high-low trons, filtertrons. They are not filtertrons. And I kind of wish that I could swap one of them out so I could kind of get the variety. I have yet to do that. And also this bridge, which comes stock with it, which is the roller bridge, which really only allows you to vary the space in between the strings, but doesn't actually allow you to adjust the intonation at this level, which would be kind of helpful, and I'm thinking about swapping that out too. But I'll get to it because I'm a musician on the road, so I don't have the money to do that. I will typically use both of them unless it's obviously something that needs to punch through and switch to the bridge pickup. And this is a strange arrangement that they've created here, whereby this seemingly you would think would do something special, but it basically, by flipping it up, negates everything and focuses all the action on the neck pickup. It's kind of a bizarre feature, I guess. Maybe in a pinch, if you were here and couldn't do that and decided you had to move 1.5 inches to the right, that was there for you. Obviously master volume, which I keep at about 3/4, so that if I need to get louder for a lead or do something, then I can bring that in. And obviously push the pickups a little bit more. And these, I kind of keep them cranked all the time. Maybe I ease them off a little bit, but generally because I'm using both pickups, I kind of want the full bore here, right here. There's only a couple of songs I generally, because it gets really bitey when you go down to the bridge pickup. But obviously perfect for cutting through. And a specific kind of sound, which I found on a few songs, really works in conjunction with a nice slapback echo. Gives you a pretty authentic, cool 50s deal. I want to say that I'm using the Gibson strings. Then there's a specific name for them that I can't quite recall, I'm sorry. And usually medium gauge, because I don't do a ton of bending. And I play a lot of acoustic guitar, so I'm used to practicing a lot of practicing flat picking. I'm not fabulous at it, but I found that it makes my acoustic sound great, and now I'm just used to the feel of medium strings. And I'm not a big bender, so they last for a while and they give me good tone, so that's why I choose those. Usually these, the Dunlops, the .88, because I don't really like them to be very floppy but not super rigid at the same time, so perfect in the middle choice. Always the Dunlops. I like the grip. I like the utilitarian look.
This is my
straight up gray. Banjo is actually it's made in Guelph, Ontario. It's made by a man named, and you can see it in there, Ian Pattison. So he built it in 2006. He's like a cabinet maker and luthier. And I saw his banjos at a store in Toronto called the 12th Fret. They were consigning his stuff, and I thought it was a beautiful open back replica of, you know, a twice the price Gibson model, and it sounded just as good to me. So I reached out to him, and he's a super nice guy, and we chatted about it, and he agreed to build me a banjo for a very reasonable price, and not only that, but allow me into the process. Like we talked about it as he was doing it. He would send me pictures as he was turning the rim, and it was just kind of like a nice personal touch to be able to talk to somebody as it's happening, as opposed to just taking the finished product off the shelf and playing it. It's like I got to be a part of that whole thing, which is really great. And I mean, you can't beat providing work to local builders. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. And this is the 16th one that he made. So he was relatively new. I think he still builds them now, and this is more than 10 years ago. So I imagine he's probably gotten quite good at it. Not that there's anything wrong with this one, it's beautiful. He put like a maple cap on the back of the rim. I have it set up with a K&K pickup. I've used a bunch of pickups, and I found that this one was actually the best for me, because we're not a band that is going to necessarily mic the banjo on stage. Not because I'm moving around a lot, it's just because there's so much other stuff going on, and to be able to get a clean, clear signal for the sound engineer every time was ideal, is what I wanted. Plus, I like to run it through some pedals to give it a bit of reverb and be able to control that reverb. So this one I found was the best one. It doesn't actually sit under the bridge like a lot of them do. It straddles the bridge on either side. And I found with the other ones that did sit under the bridge, it would actually kind of mute the bridge sometimes, which when playing acoustically is a pretty undesirable thing unless you're trying to adjust the tone and or play quieter. But to be able to control that dynamic, not a good thing for me. I didn't like it very much. So this was great, and I've been using K&K pickup for 8 years or so, and I think they're a company from Portland, Oregon. I could totally be wrong about that, but I think from what I remember. Yeah, and I mean it's a pretty just standard open back clawhammer banjo. I didn't want a lot of frills on it. I didn't think that was very necessary. And if you are buying a banjo and just getting into it, thinking about taking it up, I cannot stress the importance of getting a geared 5th string tuner. Because I've seen a lot of them, you know, if you're thinking, I'll spend less money just to get an entry-level banjo, I've seen a lot of them that use the friction tuners, where you're just relying on the tension of the string to hold tune. Big mistake. I mean, it goes out all the time, and if you are just learning, there can be nothing more frustrating than having the out-of-tune instrument the whole time. Pretty discouraging. So if you buy one, you can even just mod it and put one of those in. It's pretty inexpensive. I think you can buy them for like 50 bucks. Get someone to install it, but that's pretty key. And then in Vancouver, I feel like we were on tour somewhere and there was time to do it. So I had these installed. They're actually little railway spikes from toy train sets that they hammer in to the neck. You can see where they didn't get it right the first time and put the one in below here. Pretty inexpensive to do, and it saves you from having to have one of these gross sliding capos that you can get installed on banjos specifically just for the 5th string. But it's like a whole other mechanism that sits on top here, and if you're trying to do finger work here, it can be it can be an impediment. So I wouldn't recommend that. This is probably half the price and super effective. If I'm in G, which I am, I tuck it in here and all of a sudden I'm in A, all of a sudden I'm in C, and it's quick too if that's the song requires that. It's very fast. And that's pretty much all I've done to it in terms of modding the banjo. Not a lot. Sometimes if I'm recording, stick a towel in the back, the classic, you get rid of all the overtones. But yeah, pretty simple. I just plug it in here and I run it through the pedals to the amp, and I will generally, just because I want to be able to switch back between guitar and banjo pretty quickly, the only thing I'll do is I'll be running the whole thing through a DI and switch the amp off, because if the banjo is here, obviously open back, and the amp is there, feedback is imminent, so they'll just get the DI signal at that point, which, because the pickup is pretty good, it's kind of you know, not a perfect acoustic banjo sound, but the compromise I'm totally willing to live with. It's good enough for country. Into the Ernie Ball volume pedal, which I had the older model, and it uses the string and wheel and the pot, which, I mean, this one does too, but on this guy, get in there, they use this Kevlar, not a string anymore, they use this bit of Kevlar, which apparently, I mean, they sold me, they just said it's stronger and less likely to break. which if you've ever had one of these break, you know what a pain in the ass it is to repair it. So that's what attracted me to this one. And, you know, a standard Boss TU3. I think I've used that forever. I've never really had any other reason to switch it up. This is an interesting pedal, and I got this 5 years ago, and it has sat here in the chain and never left. It's basically a copy of a Klon Centaur, but not like, it's a little bit modern. I guess they got the circuit and just switched it up a little bit, but essentially want a nice transparent overdrive that was close enough to a Klon Centaur that had that same bite, but in a box that is about a fifth of the size of a Klon Centaur, and a fifth of the price too. And it's beautiful. It's perfect. It's a perfect overdrive. I've never used anything else. I was at one point using this guy, the Zvex Super Hard-On, just more like a boost. I forget how they talk about this. It's like the same as a channel strip on a board. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I used to use this and it was great. But when this guy came along, I kind of now just use this if I feel like I need to get more juice at the end of the chain, which I don't. I've gotten rid of a bunch of pedals, so I don't really need that anymore. Overdrive into the L cap, the Strymon, which is amazing tape delay pedal with all kinds of cool features. Everyone probably knows about the warble, the flutter, the tape age, and it can do everything. I think it even has, and I have yet to explore it, like a looping function. But yeah, we'll get there at some point. And I was so impressed with this guy that I went and got this. Because my amp does not have reverb, I wanted something that was close to an authentic spring reverb as possible. And this guy was it. It sounds amazing. And an amazing trem pedal. Because I really wanted to have, I'm kind of obsessed with the Magnetone amps and that whole proprietary vibrato that they've got. But I can't afford a Magnetone. And this is as close as I will get, I think, until I'm able to afford one of those beautiful amps, Magnetone, if you're listening. Yeah, so great trem, and 3 different kinds of reverb. They do the 60s spring, 70s plate, and then the 80s rack reverb, which is I use on a lot of songs because it's just sounds like the universe. It's awesome. I love it. And that's really it. I had a lot more pedals, but I cleaned it up because I found for what we're doing now, that's all I really needed. And the amp. So this is a friend of mine. I used to work at a guitar store in Toronto called Capsule Music. It's like a specialty vintage guitar store. That's how I knew about the Gretsch double anniversary, because we had an actual 65 double anniversary come in, and it was the nicest electric guitar I ever played. So somebody bought it, and I've been looking for one ever since, and that was my compromise. I'll just get a reissue, and it's wonderful, beautiful guitar. So the amp, I worked at Capsule where I saw that anniversary. One of the guys in the repair shop, this is him, Antonio Teixeira. He started getting into amp building. He had a friend that was making chassis. He had been messing around with it for years, but he got serious about it. He asked us if we wanted to all learn about amp building and what amps would we like to build. All we had to pay for was the cab, the speaker, some of the guts, and the chassis. So I think this amp cost me $400 to build, and it's as close as we could get to like the Neil Young late 50s Tweed Deluxe. That's all. We took a poll in the shop, 5 people, and everybody wanted to build that amp, so it was easy decision to come to. I started out trying to put the board together, soldering, and I am terrible at soldering. So I paid him some money because I wanted to take it on the road right away, and he agreed to put it all together for me, which he did in about half a week. And yeah, it's a beautiful 50s tweed deluxe replica. And I've used that for over 10 years now. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. So if you want to see more, no, not gear, just pictures of us traveling, tired people, you can visit Great Lake Swimmers on Twitter at Great Lake Swim and on Instagram at great_lake_swimmers.